What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we're having a look at the brand new treasure map. We've got the treasure map preparation here for you, building with some quote-unquote accessible-based teams, and for this event, the Luffy that we had received from Pirate King Adventures will be super evolving. Gotta say, the artwork for this character looks really good. However, I do feel like this is a kind of an underwhelming upgrade compared to what we had, I guess, before. I feel like the upgrades for these PKA units, you know, some of them, so far, it seems okay, but I really would love to see some pretty major changes, because, like, Luffy, like, with his special, he still does remove Despair and Special Bind by 5, which that should have probably been upgraded to 6. It does upgrade to 6, but you have to consume 12 or more slots or something, or 6 or more slots, 12 or more slots, yeah, it's 12 or more, to get the Despair and Special Bind reduction by an additional 1 turn. So I'm kind of pissed off about that. He does still have really good crewmate abilities though, full board of recovery slots, and makes them matching at the start of the quest, and also 1 turn attack down removal passively is actually super cool. But, you know, I'm not really that enthused about this Monkey D. Luffy, and again, it's a Luffy character. They're inevitably going to release better Luffys in the future, which means I don't see this guy seeing a hell of a lot of play in the future, but we will see. Maybe they're going to build some content around this guy. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the treasure map breakdown. Looking at our first Battle Rush boss is against Monkey D. Luffy, and the recommended character here is going to be this Kizuna Kid, which we do opt to use as a captain. So when you actually reach the final stage, you get given 6 turns of paralysis and a full board of block slots. This is where Kid's really good, because Kid can give you a full board of super bomb slots, which he makes matching as a captain. His special ability also removes the paralysis, and it gives you color affinity, which is really strong. And the reason why this Kid is kind of recommended is because all of the type slots are counted as badly matching for 5 turns, so you can get around this if you have a beneficial orb enabler for more than 2 turns that you can use on stage 2, and you will allow you to, you know, move into that final stage and not have to worry about it. Alternatively, if you just use Kid, it actually makes things a lot easier for this stage. There is also a barrier as well, which is kind of frustrating, but it's not the end of the world, as you obviously have Kid to do a lot of damage, and it's only a 15 hit combo barrier, so it is kind of annoying to get through. The rest of the characters are very replaceable. We've just got some stock standard units here, but as long as you're using Kid, this one is pretty easy. The second Battle Rush is against Denjiro, who is an int boss, and for this particular fight, they really want you to use this brand new Christmas Nami. So my Nami here is with max level limit break. You can purchase her from the treasure map exchange, and having her is really nice because she does remove 5 turns of paralysis and attack down, and that is exactly what you're inflicted with here. You're actually inflicted with 6 turns of paralysis, and we have 5 turns of attack down inflicted to the crew. Also 9 turns of despair is inflicted, but by having Gear 5 Luffy as our main captain, we can just remove the despair completely. We also have Rayleigh support attached to Luffy so that we can remove that further 1 turn of paralysis, and we also get given a full board of block slots, which we can remove with Gear 5 Luffy's EX super special. It's actually a pretty easy fight. I think, does Nami actually change block slots as well? I think she might. Yeah, she does. She does change block and unfavorable slots into rainbow, so to be honest, you don't really even need the EX Super, but you could just use all the base 5+ Straw Hats, and that's probably going to get through a lot of this as well. But anyways, very easy fight versus Denjiro. Just build a really solid side team. Gear 5 Luffy helps a lot, and you shouldn't have too many issues against this fight. Alternatively, you could use Stampede Luffy as the captain, but if you're building more accessible teams, Stampede Luffy is very good towards the end against the major bosses, so it is a little bit dependent on your character box, but if you have Stampede Luffy, you could definitely use him here as well. So moving against Raizo, the team that you see here is not a team that you would really expect. We're using a couple of non-boosted units, mainly just because it makes things so much easier. So by using Legend Cat Viper as the captain, we can bypass all the defensive effects without too many issues. And because we have, with the way that the team's built, you could actually put Dogstorm on the team in some capacity to allow you to use the EX Super, or just the Super type, which would allow you to wave clear the first 2 stages, but of course it is dependent on what you want to do. We also have Hiyori. So Hiyori gives us a full board of Wano slots when we use her special. She removes a lot of despair, she removes the bind, which both occur on the final stage, and then we are also inflicted with paralysis, which is annoying. We have Gyukimaru to remove that for us, and also the Raizo support attached to Cat Viper removes 2 turns of paralysis. There's also 6 turns of attack down, which is why we have K-Dad attached to Hiyori to remove 2 turns of that, and then the Oars character on this team actually removes 4 turns of attack down as well. The Luffy and Ace character are basically here just because they give us an attack boost, but you could exchange them for basically whatever you want. Ideally, you use a Cat Viper special stage 2, and then you use one stage 3, so you'll have an attack and an orb boost for your crew. But of course, you can do it with however you like, but this is just a team to kind of allow you to bypass defensive effects, because when you kill Raizo, he heals to 10% HP, and he has a barrier. So realistically, you know, because you've got Hiyori, you probably don't even need to worry about the barrier. It is whatever you want to do, but this is just a team that I thought of because you can get through it pretty quickly with this kind of squad. Definitely not the most efficient team ever, but you want a dog storm on the team to wave clear with the super types of dog and cat. So again, it is dependent on your character box at the end of the day, but this team will enable you to clear it without too many issues. Moving on to the next fight, which is going to be against Shinobu, and this is very similar to the Raizo fight, where she will revive with 10% health when you kill her, which is very, very frustrating. But as for the other gimmicks here, we've got 6 turns of Special Bind. We have Raizo attached to Kinemon, which will remove 2 turns of that. Luffy removes 5 turns of that, so Special Bind is going to be removed. We do get a full board of unfavorable slots, but Luffy also changes those into matching for us, or into recovery. We also get our orbs locked, Carrot here, because we can use her special for an orb boost, switch into the captain position, and bypass barriers. You'll see that there is a 25 hit combo barrier, there's 6 turns of Rainbow Shield damage reduction, there is base defense as well, but Hyogoro on the crew removes 6 turns of defense, also applying color affinity boost, which is great. And we also have Izo and Okiku, because when you kill Shinobu, she revives to 10% HP, inflicts you with Special Bind, and then also, it's Silence, not Special Bind, but also has a chain multiplier attack down, where you need to have a chain higher than 3 times. So there's a couple ways you can get around that. I'm using Izo Okiku for a really high chain, but you could use a character like Sugar, but due to the fact that you are inflicted with Silence, it means that you can't use a special once the enemy will revive. So it's actually kind of frustrating that they do that, and there isn't really ways to get around that. I assume something like Legend Toki would actually allow you to bypass stuff like that. The enemy only revives to 10% HP, so it's not the end of the world. You just need some type of chain that lasts for 2 turns, that is a chain that is higher than 3. So you could even use like Guild Tesoro, for example. So there's a couple of different options that you have. Even if you are using a non-boosted character, as long as you have a way to get around that, that's going to be important once you get post-revive. Alright, so we're up against the Kozuki Momonosuke here, which is the final boss fight. We'll talk about the Intrusion in just a moment. So with this team, ideally, you'd be using the brand new Green Bull as the friend captain for this quest. The thing about Green Bull that's frustrating is that his superclass requires 2 of the listed characters on his kit, and the characters that he requires, and if you have a look at the list of characters that are on his list that are also boosted, the array of characters is actually terrible. There's not many you can use. These are the 2 best units on this crew, which is the treasure map Akainu, which came out a few months ago, and then Fujitora, which came out I think late last year or earlier this year. These are the 2 best units you can use. There's also the side treasure map Garb, but he doesn't really gel well with the rest of the crew here. Akainu is a really solid option because he actually has good utility and applies an ignited conditional boost, which is very, very good. So the way that this team would work is that on the 2nd floor, you're inflicted with attack down, full board of block slots, burn, which is very frustrating, normal attacks only, a barrier where you have to hit him with a dex slot, as well as immunity to ignite, everything except ignite, which is cool. And then there's also a tap timing barrier as well, so I believe there might be some mobs on this stage, but the way that you get around it is we'd be using Green Ball special and his super class to get a full board of dex slots and get them locked behind a barrier so that we will keep them forever. And then we would be using the special ability of the what do you call it, this guy, Beppo, the Beppo, Sunny, and Bluno. You use their special twice, and their special gives you damage reduction on the 2nd special launch, so you need that damage reduction because when you kill stage 2, he does 100,000 damage to the crew, so you want to find a way to tank that. We'll also use the Luffy special before we leave this stage, but make sure to use the Green Ball special and super type first, and then use Luffy, and then you can remove the attack down, which is really, really good. So when you kill that stage, you move on to the last stage. On stage 3, there is 5 turns of Special Bind, 6 turns of Paralysis. You get a full board of block slots, Despair, Ship Bind ability, and full immunity, except you are allowed to ignite. So removing the Special Bind is with this Usopp. This Usopp does have level limit break 5, which you can purchase from the Pirate King Adventures shop. When he gets to level limit break 5, if you have a Luffy on your team, he gives you a chain boost, but more importantly, he delays the enemy, gives you special bind removal, which is the important thing. So he removes the special bind for the crew, which is great. We then use the Akainu special, and the Akainu gives us the ignited conditional boost. And then we could also use Fujitora, and Fujitora says that he becomes the captain, and because we have Akainu on the team, we can use his super type, we can get a color affinity boost for the whole crew, and then switch him out of the captain position. And due to Luffy's captain ability, we can ignore the paralysis and the despair that is inflicted to the crew, and then we can go ahead and kill. So it's a real workaround that you have to try and like squeeze in these very specific units on your crew. Otherwise, you can't activate Green Bull's super class, which is kind of vital for this team to work due to like locking those slots into decks and then keeping them forever. Because if you activate a special in the final stage that is a slot change, he changes all of your slots into block once again. Unless if you have a way to change your slots into Rainbow or Super Bomb, something like that. So like the Kizuna Kid that we talked about a little bit earlier in this video, if you opt to use that in this, you could actually get around it in that fashion as well. So that is the team that I have currently, that is a quote-unquote accessible team against the new boss versus Momonosuke. And now we get to the Intrusion fight against Yamato. So for the Intrusion fight, I opted to use Kid as the captain for this one. Now, what occurs here on stage 2 is you're inflicted with paralysis, which is why I decided Kid was kind of a good option, so he removes the paralysis. There's something really annoying here too, where the enemy will have a slot barrier. You need to hit him with 2 strength slots in order to break through, and he also will apply 6 turns of attack down to the crew. And the way that we would get through this stage, we would go ahead and use the Sanji special twice, and Sanji says if he has a Luffy attached to him, with level limit break 5 of course, it allows you to remove barrier by 1, and he does have double special launch, so we can remove the 2 turns of barrier. The Kid special gives a full board of super bomb slots, and then with the support of the Perospero, we can lock the slots on strikers. For this team, only Kid and the Green Bull, a friend captain once again, will keep those slots because Green Bull is actually a striker character. And then we can go ahead and use the Sengoku special. Now this Sengoku is available in the Suga Metal Exchange. I know he's not a boosted unit, but he is one of the characters that you can use in order to activate Green Bull's super class. So his special just removes the 6 turns of attack down. That's the only reason why he's here. A character that removes the attack down and is also one of the required units for Green Bull. And then from that point, you can use the Green Bull special, which will give you the orb boost, and then his super class, which will lock all of those super bomb slots into the barrier thing. So I guess the special, the support of Perospero is not required for this team at all, so you can actually take that off. But then when you actually reach the final boss stage, if you don't give yourself some good slots, when you reach the final stage, he changes all slots into super block. So that's exactly why you want to do that. Alternatively, if you have Gear 5 Luffy, 6+ Gear 5 Luffy as your captain, you could use his EX super special to give you a full board of slots, but that would require you to run a less point boosted team. It is dependent on what you have, of course. When you go ahead and reach the stage, you're also inflicted with slot bind. I believe Kid, if we go to the ability list, we can actually see Kid is actually going to ignore the slot bind, which is good. We also have Green Bull as the friend captain ignores slot bind, and then the Bonnie also ignores slot bind, which is really cool. So ideally, you would try and keep a slot on Bonnie. And then you're also going to see ship bind ability once again. There's going to be 7 turns of damage threshold, which is very annoying. And you don't want to try and keep Wano slots here because the enemy will have a little buff where if you hit them with a Wano slot, then it only does 90% damage. It's kind of like an attack down, but if you have a Wano slot, it's very frustrating actually. And there's also defense down immunity and delay immunity. So what we would do here is we'd use the Akainu special, which with the support of the Kuzan would remove 2 turns of damage threshold, which is very important because there's 7 turns of that. And then we would go ahead and use the special of Bonnie. And Bonnie's special would allow you to remove 5 turns of damage threshold. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if this is going to be the most efficient team ever, but this is a really frustratingly designed event where they really want you to use Green Bull as the friend captain. And if you want to use Green Bull as your friend captain, you have to run these very specific units on your crew to actually get the teams to work. It's a very, very frustrating event, but that's what I have so far at the moment for the current treasure map. Of course, I'll be having my own treasure map teams that you guys can get some inspiration from coming very, very shortly. I really hope you guys did enjoy this video though, and if you guys did enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.